Alrighty everyone, so Battlefield 6 Season 2's third and final major update is coming out on April 14th, and we got some patch notes to go through, we got some update notes to kind of go through, basically what we can expect to see in this third phase of Season 2. So as I just said, basically this is the last major update. I'm sure we can expect to see maybe smaller patch notes here and there until basically the launch of Season 3, but for now, this is kind of what we're working with. Season 3 might be a pretty interesting season based on some of the leaks, which I will talk about probably in another video, but for now let's just focus here on Season 2. And before we get into that, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications set to all so you can stay up to date with all of the content here on the channel, and let's just dive right on into it. Alright, so first things first, the biggest part here of Season 2's third update, the Hunter Prey update is what it's called, is obviously this new limited time mode called Operation Augur. So Operation Augur is basically gonna, I would say, kind of be the biggest piece of content we have in the Hunter Prey update. So Operation Augur is a limited time mode. It's gonna be sector by sector battle. So basically you got attackers who are on NATO. They have to secure each sector from the defenders who are Pax Armada. And you have to hold one or multiple control points at the same time. So they're basically saying what Operation Augur is doing is it's kind of like a bigger version of Breakthrough. So they're saying that Breakthrough takes place on one map, but Operation Augur is gonna put together Contaminated and Hagental Base. So you're gonna have like 9 sectors total to either attack or defend. So this is kind of a more larger version of Breakthrough, definitely more intensive, longer matches type of a thing. This is supposed to be kind of the Battlefield 6 version of Operations, which were in previous Battlefield titles. Now, unfortunately, it's going to be just a limited time mode. Now, it's not clear if this is ever going to come back or if it's going to stay, even though it's limited time based off the patch notes. The devs did say previously that if a mode is actually popular enough, they will consider keeping it in the game, but you know, that's up to them basically. They're saying in Contaminated specifically, there's a VL7 strike that occurs once a sector is captured, except for the 5th sector before you transition into Hagental Base. So teams cannot respawn on controlled objectives. You gotta rely on squad spawns, squad enabled vehicles, and the assault class spawn beacons if you don't want to go all the way from headquarters back to the objective. So it's definitely kind of got a more emphasis on team coordination. They're saying as well that just like Operations in the past, attackers have 3 battalions of lives in Operation Augur rather than a single pool. So the first 2 times a battalion's lives are completely depleted, a new battalion reinforces at the furthest checkpoint reached. Specific to Contaminated, a reinforcement battalion will also receive additional vehicle reinforcements to help them push towards Hagental Base, and Operation Augur ends when Pax Armada successfully depletes all 3 NATO battalions or if NATO captures all 9 sectors. So they've shown us some pictures basically of what each stage is going to look like. So as you can see here in stage 1 of Contaminated, there's going to be 5 distinct sectors, which are the same ones from Breakthrough on Contaminated. So basically, if you know how to go through Breakthrough on Contaminated, it's going to be the same thing for that first sector. To start, you're going to have to fight for control of an objective, and then obviously, you know, you're going to kind of keep going through. So basically, once you've completed the Contaminated sectors, if your battalion's still there, you're going to go to the second phase, which is Hagental Base. So we didn't really have a Breakthrough mode on Hagental, I believe. I think it was just Conquest, but if you've ever played Conquest on Hagental Base a lot, you kind of tend to notice that it does have a pretty similar flow to just any Breakthrough match, simply because most players on the team just kind of advance through the straight line that this kind of map is almost built in. It's basically one long tunnel. It's a hallway almost, just really spread out, and with each sector kind of almost like a Breakthrough sort of situation, even though it was on Conquest. So I kind of anticipate it's going to be pretty similar in terms of flow. So that's basically the biggest piece of content I would say for this update, the Hunter Prey update. There's not really much else going on, as you're going to see here throughout this video. They're saying that in terms of the new content other than Operation Augur, we're going to be getting a battle pass bonus path. There's going to be a new weapon as well, which is a Ripper melee weapon is what it's called, and this is going to be in the bonus battle pass path. It's probably going to be the last reward reward. Now, I remember when we had a melee reward in the bonus battle pass path back in season 1 that was for the winter offensive update, and I don't recall if you could unlock the ice pick outside of that basically, unless you bought some cosmetic from the store that had it. I don't know if it's going to be available in a challenge later. There's a new vehicle as well, which is the LTV. This is basically the Traverser Mark II, but for NATO. So the Traverser Mark II was used in Pax Armada. Now you've got a NATO variant of this vehicle. There's a bunch of stuff for RedSec as well. So basically RedSec is going to be getting a new training path for the assault class, and it's called the Hazmat Breacher. I'm not going to get too deep into the RedSec stuff because, you know, I don't really play RedSec too much, but that is something that they're going to be adding into Battle Royale. So some of the more major highlights here from the update, one of the biggest ones is definitely progression. So this is kind of something that I want to discuss here a little bit. So they said that under progression, they've put a dev note that says, one recurring point of feedback has been that weapon mastery progression can feel too dependent on eliminations and assists. Players who spend a match repairing vehicles or supporting their squad are still contributing in meaningful ways, but that contribution has not always been reflected clearly in progression. So basically how they're addressing the situation is that they're going to add a time-based component to weapon mastery progression. So you'll be able to continue earning progress through active use, but you don't have to actually regularly secure eliminations or assists. Basically, XP earned from those is unchanged, but the difference is you don't actually have to be actively using those. So long as you're getting score, you kind of are progressing on that weapon basically. So that's a little bit interesting, I thought. I personally don't really know how to feel too much about this because I feel like it definitely kind of takes away from the fact that you have to use the weapon to progress through the weapon. But at the same time, if you do more support, like you're an engineer and you're always on your teammate's tank, or you're a medic and you're just constantly running around healing people, you know, maybe this is a good change because you might not have to worry too much about progressing those weapons or having enough time to. Progression in this game, you know, definitely has been a pretty big topic of discussion since it released. A lot of people just felt like it was too slow, and then people who can play a ton of hours of this game are getting to progress a ton of weapons, and then other people won't, and it's just kind of, you know, they're sort of balance between casual play and more hardcore competitive play, that sort of a thing. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about this progression change. If you think this is a good one, or if you think this is just kind of useless or a bad one, do let me know below in the comments. And the second major change that's going to be added in the Hunter Prey update in terms of gadgets is for the defibs. So they're saying that they're doing a balance pass to the defibrillator aimed at improving game flow and overall combat pacing while keeping revives impactful and rewarding. So basically they're saying that they found that it was just way too easy to revive a ton of teammates rapid fire one after another with no risk. So they said that they want basically to preserve these moments where you can get your squad back on their feet quickly, but they want to encourage more deliberate use. So to do this, the defibs now use a charge system, and this is basically mirroring what we had in Battlefield 3 and 4, I believe. It's similar to earlier titles for sure. So they're starting with 3 charges, and this allows for a few rapid revives before you have to recharge. Revive health scales with charge time, so 50% instantly up to 100% when fully charged, with smooth steps in between. And there's going to be a new UI indicator that shows your charge progress to help you time revives effectively. And in addition, the health given with the charge duration can also be dealt as damage against enemies. So basically, you can take out a player in one zap if the defib is fully charged. It's kind of a nerf for the defibs in a way, right? Because you can't really just like run and revive like a ton of people all at once at this point. So aside from that, there are some other changes that they've made, you know, trying to fix networking, hit registration. They did mention before that basically every update you're going to be seeing fixes to that. It's not going to be something that's done all at once. There are some improvements apparently in these patch notes for the April 14th update, but I don't know how it's actually going to play out. We'll have to see. Hopefully the update doesn't break the game or anything like that. They sort of nerfed the little bird or the scout helicopter. So they adjusted basically the ammo regeneration, so it takes more time to regenerate ammo, and then they adjusted the heavy rotary cannon overheat mechanic to compensate for a reduced rate of fire. So basically the scout helicopter has just kind of been nerfed. Like, it deals less damage at a specific distance, you don't really get as much of a radius for that damage, those sorts of things. For the most part, there's not really a lot of other crazy changes that were done. Obviously there's not a huge amount of content. We are going to be getting updates to Portal, and then I can't really think of anything else else that's really that crazy in this update. There's not really much content. Basically, the only content is just Operation Augur, which is a limited time mode, so not really a crazy amount of content. Obviously, no map, no new really serious weapons or anything like that. We're just gonna have to wait for a new map until Season 3, basically. But I just kind of feel like at this point in time that Battlefield 6 definitely has not done the best job at all with their post-launch content. It's just kind of sad to see because this game had a great streak at the beginning and then they just fumbled it entirely with this. Doesn't look like naval combat is going to be in Season 3. I have no idea when that's going to be. We'll just have to wait and see how this game plays out over the coming months. You know, it's just disappointing to see the decisions that were made here with Battlefield 6. I feel like this game had a ton of potential and it was just basically wasted. There's not really any other way to say that. Is it going to hold up against Modern Warfare 4, which releases later this year? Who knows, but you know, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, leave a comment below how you feel about the Hunter Prey update, if you're actually going to try it or not, what you think about Operation Augur, how it sounds, those sorts of things. Leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications set to all so you can stay up to date with all of the content here on the channel. And that's all for today, folks.